Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 4th of June, and we got some not non-farms. That's tomorrow. We got some unemployment claims. So, kind of something's going on. Actually, I gotta look here. Look at my Twitter feed. What is up? The ECB the euro is doing something. German Constitutional Court learns of ECB decision to extend its bond buying program. ECB ramps up its pandemic bond buying program to 1.35 trillion euros. The ECB announced Thursday that it will increase its pandemic emergency purchase program by 600 billion euros. Wow. That's a lot of money. Euro seeing gains as a result. The U.S. stock market seeing gains as a result, and treasuries coming down slightly, and it looks like oil kind of even moved a little bit too. All right, well, let's come over to the chart. You can see overnight, despite that little spike they were getting from the euro, and it is a tiny one, but and not a whole lot of volume overnight either. You can see here we're just kind of filling out some of these areas right here. 3105 from yesterday. Who knows? If we get below this area right here, this 3080 level, then that could be ugly. We are in an area where a lot of people were looking for the market to go, and if we turn around here, things could turn. We are getting orange. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen a down day. So Treasury's here. Treasury's still hanging out down at the low. So that's interesting because last time that we came down like that, we almost immediately bounced. And here you can see they're trying to bounce, but they're not getting very far at all. Relatively tight too. Well, my eyes are kind of watering here. Spain's lower house opens process to create a digital tax on large internet firms' revenues. Let's see here. Donald Trump was tweeting earlier this morning too. After left-wing criticism, the New York Times bowed to the Biden campaign and changed their headline about President Trump's pledge to end the chaos plaguing Democrat-run cities. Oh, they changed it from chaos spreads, Trump vows to end it now, to Trump threatens to send troops into states. But he's saying that now that probably don't need it. Okay, well, he's out there. He might tweet, beware. I need a Kleenex. Why don't I have Kleenexes in here? I'm going to go get some. Oh, yes. Let's turn on the text to speech. That would be useful. I just think it's so curious where we are up here. 3,100. 3,100 is up there. And the politicians are telling us that it's critical that we inject the economy with more stimulus. That's what's happening. Can you believe this? Webb's City X says, watch out for the trapdoor. Yeah. This is the first time in a while that we've opened down. So let's see what happens with the unemployment claims. Non-farm productivity. Oh, why is it showing me that? That was yesterday, right? Oh, no. That's just the estimate. I was just because it's such a big one. Non-farm productivity estimate is negative 2.7. Initial jobless claims estimate is 1,800,000. The previous reading of 2,123,000. Import exports. Imports previous was 232 billion, and the imports estimate is 42 billion with a previous of 46. Oh yeah, there's that AC turning on. Nice. Fixed it. I fixed up the Nest yesterday. I think this new schedule is much better. Hong Kong legislature passes measure outlawing disrespect of the Chinese national anthem. European Central Bank watched the ECB press conference live. President Christine Lagarde explains today's monetary policy decisions. Oh, they're going to do it on they got a Periscope. They got a Periscope link. I don't know if I want to watch it on Periscope. Well, this is going to be a tough trade, right? Like if we get something off of the non-farms, then cool. But then you get that ECB press conference, and that is always a pain in the butt because you don't necessarily want to be in while they are talking over there, but you know, they often talk up until the U.S. Open. We do have some numbers at 10, don't we? No. Oh, actually, no, we don't. Apparently not. Oh, Patrick Rooney has a nice observation here. In the search for efficiency, markets tend to overadjust and replace one inefficiency with another. Our goal is to identify and close those inefficiencies as one door closes, another one opens. Billionaire hedge funders getting short squeezed by Robinhood millennials with prepaid stimulus debit card is hilarious. And Brannigan Barrett says, quite possibly the stupidest narrative I have ever heard. Please, folks, don't be ignorant. But isn't that exactly what's happening? They're not necessarily getting squeezed. They're chasing most of them, right? Brand thinks that the NQ is going to sell off 50% retracement. The markets are built to take away our edges, alleys temporarily. We rely on speed and high frequency trading, which took that away. We rely on an indicator or pattern and algos and use that pattern against us. We have to be willing to adapt and change where we can find edge. It's something we are always developing. True. That was Anthony Grudelli. Riverdale actress speaks out, I'm the only Black Series regular, but also paid the least. Well, that is maybe a legitimate, well, I don't know. Who are there other actors that are more well known though? And there's lots of factors, right? Okay, so let's focus on that jobless claims number. Now, remember, there's two numbers. There's the initial claims, and then there's the 4-week average, or sorry, the continuing. So, right, so the initial jobless claims that we're looking for 1,800,000. The continuing jobless claims that we're looking for a 20,050,000. So sometimes we just look at that headline number and we miss the bigger picture, right? Like that previous ones were revised, or that people are staying on it more than we thought, or things like that. All right, so we will read that first. The number we care about is the initial jobless claims first, though. So we'll read that one out first when we get it. And here comes the news. Getting the non-farm productivity is negative spot 9 versus negative 2.7. So that's really good. Okay, here we go. Initial jobless claims, 1,877,000. So pretty close to in line with expectations. Continuing jobless claims, though, higher than expected at 21,487,000 versus an expected 20,050,000. So that's not good. It's not the end of the world. It might take the markets a second to figure out what they're doing here. So you're getting kind of an outside bar here, of course. Why does it do that? Oh, that's a no. Hmm. So basically, the gist of it is that people are not going back to work. Now you cooperate. there's this spot. There's also low today is actually really, really good. But then if it doesn't do that, there's 89. So there's some volume trying to hold it, but when it goes down, it falls and it falls and it falls. Okay. Yeah, that's the one I'm worried about right there. That doesn't mean that they're not going to break the low, but I just know that's going to make me nervous. They bounce like that. Wait, wait. The ECB is going to buy 27 billion of Greek GBs under PEPP, and there are only 50 billion outstanding. They're going to buy half of them. Okay, so we are getting, let's do a little clear so we can see more clearly in the DOM. South Dakota governor says she's working with Trump officials on Mount Rushmore flyover. Okay, I don't know why that's news, but whatever. Incoming info confirms unprecedented contraction, says ECB is required. Surveys suggest some bottoming out, improvement, tepid projections see unprecedented growth fall. So now that she's well into the talking, and I'm not going to watch it, but that is often very distracting to me. And they never say anything. Well, maybe we should watch it because you guys aren't doing anything interesting. We'll watch it. We'll watch the ECB Governing Council.
Accommodations. Sixth,
Here we go.
decided to keep the key ECB interest rates unchanged. We expect them to remain at their present or lower levels until we have seen the inflation outlook robustly converge to a level sufficiently close to but below 2% within
I won't turn it up too loud.
And such convergence has been consistently reflected in underlying inflation dynamics. Together with the substantial monetary policy stimulus already in place, today's decisions will support liquidity and funding conditions in the economy, help to sustain the flow of credit to households and firms, and contribute to maintaining favorable financing conditions for all sectors and jurisdictions in order to underpin the recovery of the economy from the coronavirus fallout. At the same time, in the current rapidly evolving economic environment, the Governing Council remains fully committed to doing everything necessary within its mandate to support all citizens of the euro area through this extremely challenging time. This applies
Treasuries are
first and
kind of
foremost
ticking
to our
around
role
there.
in ensuring that our monetary policy is transmitted to all parts of the economy
They did move
and in
higher.
all jurisdictions in the pursuit of our price stability mandate. The Governing Council, therefore, continues to stand ready to adjust all of its instruments as appropriate to ensure that inflation moves towards its aim in a sustained manner in line with its commitment to symmetry. Let me now explain our assessment in greater detail, starting with the economic analysis. The latest economic indicators and survey results confirm
Donald Trump tweets, so why is Joe Biden... He's retweeting Donald Trump Jr. Why is Joe Biden silent about the cold murdered Captain David Dorn? Does his life not matter to Joe because it doesn't fit his left-wing narrative about the riots and looters? Donald Trump retweeting it with the comment, disgraceful.
Taking a toll on the productive capacity of the euro area economy and on domestic demand. In the first quarter of 2020, when containment measures were only in place from mid-March in most countries, euro area GDP decreased by 3.8% quarter on quarter. Information from surveys, high-frequency indicators, and incoming hard data all point to a further significant contraction of real GDP in the second quarter. Most recent indicators suggest some bottoming out of the downturn in May as part of the economy gradually reopens. Accordingly, euro area activity is expected to rebound in the third quarter as the containment measures are eased further, supported by favorable financing conditions and expansionary fiscal stance.
So I don't know if they're reacting to anything that she's saying, but it's kind of doing some interesting action, and they're kind of threatening that they're going to go and break the low. But
of the rebound remains highly uncertain.
This kind of area is hard for me
This
because
assessment is
I want to
also
click so
broadly
bad.
reflected
I
in
want to
the
click it.
June 2020 Eurosystem staff macroeconomic projections for the euro area. In the baseline scenario of the projections, annual real GDP is expected to fall by 8.7% in 2020 and to rebound by 2021
LL Rain wondering
to 5.2%.
says wondering about the initial reaction of
and by
markets
3.3%
to the ECB policy
in
announcement?
2022.
Risk spread on 10-year Italian bonds fell by a notable 13 basis points, and that for Spain by 8 basis points. This is ECB President Christine Lagarde notes that the macroeconomic outlook is being revised down.
Points in 2020 and has been revised upwards by
Okay, so they
3.9
touched some
percentage
new
points
lows there.
in
They did do it.
2021 and 1.9
So
percentage
I'm
points
kind
in
of,
2022.
if I had stayed in that, maybe 89.
Given
maybe
the
89.
exceptional uncertainty currently surrounding the outlook, the projections also include
You could probably take that backwash right there and go short. But
which we will publish on our website.
Kinda missed the move,
following
right?
this press conference. In general, the extent of the contraction and recovery will depend crucially on the duration and the effectiveness of the containment measures, the success of policies to mitigate the adverse impact on incomes and employment, and the extent to which supply capacity and domestic demand are permanently affected. Overall, the Governing Council sees the balance of risks around the baseline projection to the downside. According to Eurostat's flash estimate, euro area annual HICP inflation decreased to 0.1 in May, down from 0.3 in April, mainly on account of lower energy price inflation. On the basis of current and futures prices for oil, headline inflation is likely to decline somewhat further over the coming months and to remain subdued until the end of the year. Over the medium term, weaker demand put downward pressure on inflation, which will be only partially offset by upward pressures related to supply constraints. Market-based indicators of longer-term inflation expectations have remained at depressed levels. While survey-based indicators of inflation expectations have declined over the short and medium term, longer-term expectations have been less affected. This assessment is also reflected in the June 2020 Eurosystem staff macroeconomic projections for the euro area, which foresee annual HICP inflation in the baseline scenario at 0.3% in 2020, 0.8% in 2021, and 1.3% in 2022. Compared with the March 2020 ECB staff macroeconomic projections, the outlook for HICP inflation has been revised downwards by 0.8 percentage point in 2020, 0.6 percentage points in 2021, and 0.3 percentage points in 2022. Turning to the monetary analysis, broad money, M3, growth, increased to 8.3% in April 2020 from 7.5% in March. Strong money growth reflects bank credit creation, which is driven to a large extent
She's still
by
giving
the
her
acute
opening remarks.
liquidity needs in the economy.
Maybe
Moreover,
she decided that
high
she needs
economic
to have
uncertainty
a
is
longer
triggering a
speech so that
shift
they have less time
towards
for
money
questions.
holdings for precautionary reasons. In this environment, the narrow monetary aggregate M1, encompassing the most liquid forms
Seeing a
of
bunch
money,
of people retweeting
continues
Danske
to be
Bank
the main
research
contributor to
pointing
broad
out
money
that
growth.
since the ECB has extended the
Developments in
PEPP to
loans
June
to the
2021,
private sector
but given the current
continued
pace of
to be shaped
buying, it
by
may
the
be
impact of
exhausted
the
already in
coronavirus
February
on
if the
economic
current
activity.
purchasing pace doesn't
The
slow down.
annual growth rate of
So,
loans to non-financial corporations rose
getting an
further
UPAR
to
here,
6.6%
so maybe we'll get a
in April
little bit more
2020, up from
extended of a
5.5%
pullback.
in March, reflecting firms' need to finance their ongoing expenditures and working capital in the context of rapidly declining revenues. At the same time, the annual growth rate of loans to households decreased to 3% in April from 3.4% in March, amid consumption constraints due to the containment measures, declining confidence, and a deterioration of labor markets. Our policy measures, in particular the very favorable terms for our targeted long-term refinancing operations, should encourage banks to extend loans to all private sector entities.
ECB sees inflation
adopted by national governments and
underrunning the
institutions,
2% target.
Treasury_trader says Bitcoin still looking strong.
including
Is
for
it
those most
been
affected
moving today? I
by
haven't
ramifications
noticed the
of
chart.
coronavirus
Nah.
pandemic.
Look, it's where it
To
was.
sum up, a cross-check of the outcome of the economic analysis
There
with
was
the
a good little
signals
bump
coming
there,
from
but
the monetary analysis
be
confirmed
careful.
an ample
That
degree
thing
of
is
monetary
manipulated, and the
accommodation is
last
necessary for the
push that he
robust
made was
convergence of
down.
inflation to levels that are below but close to 2%
Treasury_trader says
over the
exactly.
medium term. Regarding fiscal policies, an ambitious and coordinated fiscal stance remains critical in view of the sharp contraction in the euro area economy.
I still see a lot of incentive and reason for them to move down.
And temporary in nature in response to the pandemic emergency. The three
Hasn't
safety
really been
nets
moving though.
endorsed by the European
Treasury_trader says
for
it's not moved down
workers,
at all since the last spill.
businesses and sovereigns
Like really, it
amounting
doesn't
to a
move
package worth
at all anymore unless a whale
540
comes in and
billion
pushes it.
euros, provide important funding support in this context. At the same time,
It just
the
looks
Governing
sick
Council
to me.
urges further strong and timely efforts to prepare and support the recovery. We therefore strongly welcome the European Commission's proposal for a recovery plan.
It's kind of like the
dedicated to
Treasury's
supporting
like
the
there's not a
regions
ton of
and
reason for the
sectors
well,
most
until this
severely
week there
hit
wasn't a
by
ton
the
of reason for
pandemic,
treasuries to move
to
around, and they weren't
strengthening
really
the
good
single
instruments to
market,
trade.
and to building a
And
lasting
that's what I see in
prosperous
Bitcoin is
recovery.
like there's not really that much
We are
interest
now
in it right
ready
now.
to take your questions addressed either to myself or to the Vice President.
Okay, so now she's gonna do the
We'll start
questions.
with Mr. Karani from Reuters.
Good afternoon, and thank you for taking my question. The first question is about the composition of PEP. I'm wondering if you've discussed including junk bonds into PEP, and if not, why not, given that your own stability report highlights the risk of downgrades to stability. The second question is about the German Constitutional Court's ruling, and I wonder if
They're there in that huge, beautiful conference room, and it's just them. And everybody else has to call in. But I tell you what, this pandemic thing is like really funny because, like, honestly, like with everybody out there right now, like nobody's taking this seriously anymore, and yet that we're still trying to maintain the. I don't know what I don't have any elegant words to try and explain it, but it's just so funny that we're still doing it.
On your first questions, which has to do with
it'd be interesting if like lots of rioters catch it, and I don't think that most of those they're young people. I don't think that they're really at risk.
We have defined parameters for our purchases. We want to insulate the way we conduct policy from the effect of the pandemic and avoid self-fulfilling procyclicality. So we will continue.
The ECB wants to avoid self-fulfilling procyclicality. Okay.
Aside from that, the Governing Council has not.
Don't think you're doing too good of a job, judging from the market's reaction so far.
On your second point, which has to do with the Karlsruhe Court decision, I just want to remind you that the ECB is subject to the jurisdiction of the Court of Justice of the European Union. The PSPP has been judged.
Treasury_trader says in Muslim country it is spiking again. There were lots of gathering during Ramadan. It should spike again after all these protests and people gathering everywhere in the world.
We have indeed taken note of the judgment, which is directed
the thing is,
the German government and at the German
the thing that's
parliament,
interesting about Bitcoin as an asset class compared to other assets, except for maybe perhaps gold, but gold does have other factors that make it a little bit different. But there is no reason that it has to do anything. It doesn't have to do anything. If the whales decide not to trade it on that particular thing, then it just doesn't move. And we see that all the time, and we also see it make irrational moves, like that there is a theory about the way that Bitcoin should move in reaction to a particular global thing, and then it doesn't go.
Says I am talking about COVID.
Like they'll come in and they'll say, Bitcoin should go up because of COVID, and then what happened? It got killed. It just got absolutely destroyed. It's because the thing that's moving it is the whales having to do stuff. So if a whale comes in and has to sell stuff because he needs to raise cash, then that's the way that Bitcoin is going to move, and it has absolutely nothing to do with connection to fundamentals, because in reality there is no connection to fundamentals. It's pure speculation.
Good afternoon. Hello. Yes, so my first question, some of the reports before the meeting suggested that not all of the members of the Governing Council were ready to support an increase in PEP today.
So,
Can you give us a sense of
if
how
this
wide
whale who took it up to 10K and then sold it back down wants to continue to push it down, then he will. And the thing is that they are quite overbought.
Treasury_trader says I get you, but I am talking about COVID cases spiking, not about Bitcoin.
I don't know if COVID cases are going to spike again. The issue is that if COVID cases do spike again...
Treasury_trader says sorry for the confusion. It was just a comment on your comment about the press meeting.
Okay. I mean, if COVID cases do spike again, I don't think that they're going to close things down.
Does that imply that the roll-off from PEP
I mean, I think the thing is that the number of regular everyday people that,
Well,
sorry, the number of young people that end up dying from COVID-19 is much lower than they thought. So the whole scientific argument for locking things down is kind of falling apart.
To say the benefit cost, because there are a lot more benefits than cost of the PEP. First of all, I would observe that
like what has happened is the scientific case for lockdowns has fallen apart, and Democrat mayors are just kind of clinging on to save face. Like, it's funny that New York has not opened up. Like, they're still like, oh, we're gonna have like different phases and all this shit. And it's like, dude, like everything's open now. Like, people are in the streets rioting. Like, just open it up. Don't be stupid.
Main factors that have led us to reconsider PEP and certainly expand the size of PEP as well as its duration.
Uzi Knesset says everything's open and everything's free.
Factor is that the outlook for price stability.
Is everything open down in Florida?
Treasury_trader says, yeah, I guess time will tell.
It's interesting. I have not really heard or seen any stories about rioting in Florida. I'm sure it's happening out there, but it's obviously not a focus.
Says, yeah, we getting normal fast.
It's all, everything that I'm seeing is all New York, LA, Wisconsin, Philadelphia.
Second,
it's all Democrat strongholds.
Consider PEP and to increase its size and extend its timing is that financial conditions for the euro area as a whole.
Treasury_trader says only old people in Florida. Lol.
There's only old people in Florida, that's why. I really thought that you'd see a lot in Miami because they got the festival crowd, and the festival crowd loves the marches. To the festival crowd, it's just another festival. The protests is just another festival.
Uzi Knesset says we got lots of protests in Orlando, but no riots. Tampa has a high concentration of Antifa, so there's some shit over there. Jacksonville too.
Oh, really?
Inflation outlook, and given our mandate of price stability,
over here, I mean, I should go check the news. I don't think anything interesting happened last night. They said that we don't need to curfew anymore.
Jeff Matthews says people here in the UK are still extremely obsessed with everyone should maintain 2 meters of social distancing and wear masks. Treasury_trader says spreading in 30Y 10-year.
Thanks to one particular
yeah, but I notice.
Which is its flexibility in conducting our purchases.
So it looks to me like it's flattening a little, yeah? Yeah, it is.
Back.
It's flattening a little, but there's a lot of noise on this chart. You see it?
So
we've been steepening for a while, and now here in this area there's some extreme moves, but it appears to be flattening a little.
Euros. Why did we extend the horizon
probably
to June
similar
of
2021?
It's certainly because we have a sense that by then
it looks like that they're just retracing stuff though.
In again, and we will have a better visibility of the situation.
And you can see it on my DOM.
It's also
30
coherent
still
with
there,
a lot of our other monetary policy tools, those that we have either determined in March or fine-tuned and improved at our last April monetary policy.
They moved up overall, but it's flattening. So you continue to get this odd inverse real, because normally when we move up, they're going to get steeper.
The end of 2022.
And that hasn't been what's happened.
We have determined that because it helps ensure that financial conditions remained sufficiently supportive over a possibly very protracted
so Utah is starting to see
it also reflects
an increase in cases, and state health officials don't recommend a move to smart green.
So if only for these two reasons, we believe that giving a bit more visibility and certainty over that horizon was certainly a good decision to make.
NBA to vote on restart today.
The next question will go to Annette Weisbach from CNBC, please.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me? Good afternoon.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that's great, because we had problems last time, so I wanted to make sure. My first question...
Protests not even making the news.
Why you have agreed on raising it by 600
She charged in
billion
federal court with
Uzi
setting
Knesset
police
says I
people
said
for
it last
fire.
month, there's going to be a point where people just lose interest in COVID and live with it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Jeff Matthews says but it's interesting that Sweden was a lot more laid back in their response to COVID.
Well, did you see?
Uzi
Yeah.
Knesset says that's happening now.
By the way, welcome Jeff Matthews. I don't recognize that name. So, did you see this story yesterday that the guy that kind of orchestrated that policy decision is saying that they made mistakes and that they have a higher death rate than everybody else? That's interesting. The thing that I find curious is that you should expect to see more deaths than anybody else because more of their population should have caught it. But why would a larger percentage of them die than in other countries?
As to what would be the appropriate size. But we collectively determined, and there was broad consensus around that.
I guess they just weren't able to prevent it from getting to the people that are susceptible.
Over time, significantly closer to what I have.
But then the question is like, what percentage difference is it? Is it really?
To monitor how some.
I mean, I know that nobody wants to sit and make the argument, but you kind of have to weigh the things against each other. Like how many years of life are you saving compared to percentage of GDP points lost? But then that's the other thing is that in Sweden, it does not appear that not locking things down has really helped their economy all that much. The bonds took a pretty good dive there.
But it is still surrounded by a lot of uncertainty. And
I guess they didn't like what she said there.
That will bring us, as I said, significantly closer.
Jeff
to
Matthews
that
says that data I've seen is that COVID only has a death rate of maybe 0.3% anyway, which is like 3 times more than the normal flu. I guess it could be 1%, but that's a stretch. Maybe it depends on location.
So something that I find incredibly weird is that I don't know anything about modeling virus pandemics. And I did not feel confident in any of my projections. But a lot of the things that we talked about a lot, particularly that the death rate is probably closer to 0.5, did end up coming true. I also said that New York would have over 10,000 cases. I think that they actually got 20,000. Let's go here and look at our
as indicated in the introductory
dash.
statement. We are also using, and we will be seeing very interesting developments in June, the TLT.
And then everybody, was saying, oh, like the estimates are going to be, they said that we'll have 100 to 200,000 and 2 million if we don't shut down. And hey, what do you know? 100,000. Like the numbers were right on.
Particularly to the corporates, but also to the SMEs and to,
Let me switch.
all the family of borrowers.
Oh, so New York
around.
got to
In that
30,000.
case, then they can obtain.
See,
an
here in
interest
Utah,
rate which is minus
we can
1%.
way down here.
So that's also a major
Actually, we're
tool
probably much
to make
further
sure
up
that
also.
the economy really is.
So in
funded
Utah, we've had
with the, credit
117.
capacity that
Well, they
is
haven't
getting
listed the
permitted.
changes today,
I
but
also would like to
10,000
remind you that we
cases.
have,
And that's
Jeff
about
Matthews
when
says,
it
do you think the
starts to-
1918 flu was really a lot more dangerous
which has
virus?
operated as a
I
bridge,
guess it
which
was.
will
It
now be
was.
supplemented by Ultro, which is
Well-
pandemic specific and which will also operate as.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Like the thing is that the 1918 flu, there was kind of two things. One was that it was a flu, but it was a strain of the flu that people had not encountered for a long time. So older people had some immunity built up to it, and younger people didn't. So it actually ended up killing more young people, and that's one of the main reasons why the 1918 flu ended up being so, remembered. Because, usually diseases like this are going to kill older people, right? But then the other thing is that the flu mutated into a much more deadly form halfway through it. So there was like an initial wave and people shut things down, and then it was like everything was hunky-dory and fine. And then it mutated. And so then when the second wave came, they refused to shut things down again, and they just got hammered. But
adequate in
I
order
mean,
to respond
one of the things that I
to the
think is
needs,
interesting,
I
though,
think,
is that
has determined
there's
to
kind of this
us to
assumption
act in
that it
direction.
was
I
the
think you had an
opening up
additional
and
question
closing
on
down of
AFR.
things that kind of was like
Clearly,
what they
we
should have
also,
done or shouldn't
as a
have done.
governing council,
But the
is
issue
subject
is
to the
that
current
you can't
circumstances.
stop it,
Clearly, the PEP was the
right?
best
Like when it's
instrument to use,
just a small
both in
breakout,
terms
and
of,
then you can kind of shut
monetary
the things
stance, but
down
also
there
in
and
terms
prevent the
of,
larger breakout.
monetary policy
Well, we are
and
well past that.
transmission.
Everybody's going to catch it. Everybody's going to catch
The
it.
next
And so the
question
thing that's
from
going to
Mr.
affect the
Arnold
death
from the
rate
Financial Times.
in the long run, I think, when you look at it over 5 years from now, the only thing that's going to affect the death rate is how good your hospital system is and a vaccine, That's why I'm saying it's interesting that Sweden's death rate is higher than everybody else's. But I'm wondering if my theory is correct, then you will see that everybody else catches up eventually. And that the difference will just be that Sweden gets through it faster.
Talk about your fears of deflation and why
Jeff Matthews says, yeah, I feel like the shutdowns just keep the health system from getting overrun. Half the population will still get it, probably.
Probably.
to enter. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the stats that I thought was really funny was that a large portion of the GDP lost was because they weren't doing any other medical procedures. So they prevented people from doing elective medical procedures during that time when they really didn't need to.
PSPP, which was the subject of the Karlsruhe Constitutional Court ruling, has been judged by the Court of Justice of the European Union, has been judged as in line with our policy mandate. So we have, all of us, have taken note of the judgment.
Oh boy, Drew Brees, I would like to apologize to my friends, teammates, the city of New Orleans, the black community, NFL community, and anyone I hurt with my comments yesterday, and speaking with some of you, it breaks my heart to know, ...
Parliament. And,
it was a long way, it was a long comment.
That a good solution will be found, which, as
in
I
speaking
said
with
already,
some of you, it breaks
will
my
in no
heart
way
to know the pain I have
compromise
caused in an
the
attempt to talk
independence
about respect,
of
unity, and solidarity
the
centered around the American
the
flag and the
privacy
national
of
anthem.
European
I made
Union
comments that were insensitive and
and
completely
the
missed
decision by
the mark on the
European Court of
issues we are
Justice.
facing right now as a country. They lacked
What
awareness
we
and any
have
type
done
of
at the
compassion or
Governing
empathy.
Council,
Instead, these words have become
and
divisive and
what we
hurtful
do
and have misled people
regularly,
into believing that somehow I
whenever
am an enemy.
important
This cannot be
decisions are
further from the
made in
roof,
terms
and
of
it is not an
monetary
accurate
policy,
reflection of my heart or character. This is where I
is
stand. I stand with the
debate
black community
and
in the
assess
fight against
the
systemic racial
effectiveness,
injustice and police
the
brutality and
efficiency,
support the creation of real
and the
policy change that will make a difference. I
of
condemn the
one
years of
measure
repression that have
or the
taken
other,
place throughout black
and the
communities and
package
still
of
exists
measures
today.
together.
I acknowledge that
So
we
we
as
have done
Americans,
that
including
indeed.
myself, have not done enough to fight for
This
that
morning,
equality or to
as
truly
we
understand the
regularly
struggles
do,
and plight of the black
and
community.
that is
I recognize
and
that I
will
am
be
part of the
reflected
solution and can
in
be a
the
leader for the
accounts
black
and
community in
the
this movement.
minutes
I will never know what it's
of
like to be a
the
black man
meeting
or
that we
raise
had.
children in America, but I will work every day to put myself in
Your
their
second
shoes and fight
question
for
had
what's
to
right.
do with,
And this is
deflation.
long. I've always been an ally. I've never been
We
an
are
enemy. I'm sick about the
focused
way my
Uzi
comments were
Knesset
perceived
says
yesterday.
blah blah blah, the apology tours continue and the whole world is a
Right.
giant therapy session.
But I take full responsibility and accountability. I recognize that I should do less talking and more listening when the black community is talking about their pain. We all need to listen for that. I am very sorry and I ask your forgiveness. I agree with you, Uzi. I'm trying to think here and she's kind of distracting me. And the market is moving back up too, which is kind of funny. I dislike the apology tour. I don't have to apologize for anything. Like there's like this assumption that if you don't apologize, that you're for systemic racism or something like that, which is nonsense. Nobody thinks that that's okay. Nobody thinks that what happened to that guy was okay. Nobody thinks that a police brutality is okay, right? The thing is that bothers me so much about this is that people are trying to use shame and manipulation to try and force people into accepting ideas and policies that they don't really believe in and they would never go along with. Okay? Like, I think
Richard Hull says, OMG, I lost some respect for Drew. So much hypocrisy from these people.
Right. Everybody's going to be mad that he
says the left
that he
spent
gave
decades
in.
expelling religion from their worldview. They have replaced it with rampant white guilt and minority worship.
Ugh. Like here's the thing. I see good ideas and bad ideas. I will support good ideas and I will reject bad ideas. And I refuse to be forced into some large scale movement where all of the decisions on issues are made for me by the group. No. Okay. Police should not use the maneuver that they were using on that man, or at the very least, once the guy is passed out, you should take your knee off of him. Okay. We all agree with that. Okay. I do not believe that the answer here is to defund the police. That is what they're saying now. They're saying that this is the movement to defund the police. Can you believe that? There was a measure is being put up in Los Angeles now. Their city council is putting it in, and the mayor's in support of it, and it looks like it's going to happen, to defund the police. You have chaos out there, and they're saying, the answer is less enforcement. Are you people fucking crazy? Like, honestly, you are already failing the citizens of your cities and states. You are failing to protect them. You're failing to protect their businesses. You are failing to protect their homes. And then you come and you say that the answer is to have less police funding? Are you crazy? That is a dumb idea. And people are trying to shame us all into accepting these stupid ideas. No, thank you. No, thank you. I can say that police officer should be prosecuted. I can say that they shouldn't use that particular move. And that is it. That is as far as I'm willing to go at this point. Because you come in and you say, okay, well, like maybe there is systemic racism. The thing that is really annoying about this particular thing is that there's absolutely no evidence that any of this was racially motivated. It just involved a black guy. So I didn't even understand, but it doesn't matter. I guess I can give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. That's what they're concerned about. Okay, I understand. Okay, but there's a deeper question here that people don't want to admit is actually being discussed, right? Which is how strict should enforcement be? How some people are afraid of crime and lawlessness, and some people are afraid of being of having the enforcement on them, right? And the whole question here is how much are you willing to balance? Where do you want to balance enforcement of the law against people? Sorry, how do I say this? The question is, what is the balance between enforcement and people's safety and the criminal's safety, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Like the history has shown us that that's not the case. In New York, when they stepped up enforcement, they gave the police more leeway in how they enforced the law, crime went down. And people are saying that the pendulum should switch completely the other way and the police should be completely defunded. And I tell you what's going to happen. Cities are going to become less safe, and I'm not okay with that. That's my rant. I totally am all for things that will get rid of systemic racism, okay? But your problem with systemic racism does not necessitate making everybody less safe by decreasing law enforcement, okay? If the answer there is don't break the law. Like, fucking seriously. Have people out there who are throwing cars over and everybody's trying to make excuses for them. No. Take responsibility. Come down and say, yes, we did something, they did something wrong. Like, acknowledge it. Because until people feel that they are safe in their homes, they don't give a shit about this other stuff. Like, that's great. You have systemic racism. People are trying to burn my house down. Kind of a little bit of a, it's kind of hard to see past people trying to burn my house down. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. The whole thing is I feel manipulation. And everybody is so afraid of the mob that they're just kind of like bending over for it. I think it's bullshit.
Uzi Knesset says yes. Uzi Knesset says defund the police so justice is doled out by lynch mobs of angry, depressed millennials. Richard Hull says I can't apologize for being white. All I can do is be the best white person I can be. Jeff Matthews says, be the best white person you can be, tears of joy. Jeff Matthews says yes, I was thinking about that. The police dramatically brought down the huge crime in NYC in the 90s. Richard Hull says systemic racism doesn't exist, it's an excuse to get their way, my opinion which I'm supposed to have a right to.
So I don't agree with you. Systemic racism absolutely exists. There's no question that there are individuals that exist out there that have racist views. And there's no question that institutions could do something that might be disadvantageous to a particular minority group or whatever the issue is like that. But the problem is how do you prove it? How do you quantify it? You can't. You can't go into any one individual instance of something and say it happened because of systemic racism or it didn't. Let me tell you something else. George Floyd shouldn't have been on the streets. He was high. He was high. He was on fentanyl and amphetamines. Okay? This is a guy that is basically on a combination of drugs that makes you feel invincible and amped up. And the police subdued him, put him in the car, and then took him out because he wasn't behaving. He was dangerous. Shouldn't mean that he should die. Don't get me wrong on that. But the police need to enforce the law. And in that particular instance, what was public safety's interest was that this man be taken off of the streets. So how can you say how much of that was racism? I think in this case, I don't think that it was. I don't think there's any evidence that it played any part. But you can't, because to really know, we have to read people's minds. You know what I mean? And I don't agree with trying to, with enacting public policy based on what we think people are thinking. You know what I mean?
Uzi Knesset says if you want the police to be less heavy-handed, you must first convince criminals to do the same.
Well, going back to your comment about in New York, right? I mean, the thing is like the society made a conscious decision here, guys. In New York, when they were doing all of that enforcement, there was an instance where a man was sitting on his porch. The police thought that he was doing something shifty, so they came out and they said, "Please freeze." And he didn't do it. He didn't put his hands up or stop or anything like that. He started searching in his pocket for something. And the police thought that they saw him pull a gun out. So they shot him. They shot him 41 times. This guy did not do anything wrong. He was not doing anything wrong. And nobody says that he does anything wrong. This is like that one case. They always come out then say that the black guy is a criminal. This was a case where the black guy was not a criminal. He was just a black immigrant who was a good guy. And he just didn't know how to react in that situation. And he didn't do what the cops told him to do. And they shot him 41 times. 41 times, guys. And you know what happened? The police went to court and the court found them not guilty. I have made the conscious choice that cops will make mistakes from time to time and that we have to give them the leeway in enforcement so that we can have effective police enforcement. That's the decision that society made. It worked, and people are now trying to turn the pendulum the complete other way. And maybe we took it too far. That's why I say let's look at individual policies. Bonds are really falling apart here. Let's look at individual policies. But I am not just going to accept some huge, monolithic group of ideas and just say, okay, I was wrong. We're all racist. So you guys you tell us exactly everything what to do. And we should just do everything that you want us to. No. Defund the police. Already you guys are trying to push dumb ideas. Dumb ideas on me. Will not. Like in Salt Lake, they overturned cop cars. I walk on that street. I will not allow that in my community. I don't care if the cops have to shoot every single one of you if it makes it safe. That's how I feel. I know that that's not just and right, but that's how I feel. I'm more concerned about my personal safety.
Uzi Knesset says if you want the police to be less heavy-handed, you must first convince criminals to do the same. Richard Hull says okay, but you can't regulate someone's opinion or hate. Hate can only be regulated when it harms someone, then it's a criminal issue. Saying the N-word causes zero harm, saying cracker no harm.
Well, nobody's saying that. But what did Drew Brees say? That he doesn't like protesting during the national anthem. I think the whole kneeling thing is stupid. Americans don't kneel. Come on. And you don't protest during the national anthem. That's the wrong time. You know, like I saw this thing, they were saying, oh, here are all of these different protests that people didn't like. And one of them was a picture of Kobe, and he had a shirt on that was that was promoting a certain cause. And I was like, you know what? If he's wearing a shirt before the game that promotes a certain cause, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. That's great. I encourage people to do that. I would encourage people to voice their views. Just don't do it during the national anthem, right? Like,
Richard Hull says there are also appellate courts, civil courts. If I was an attorney for family of that guy, the first would have not stopped until that wrong was punished. But bad apples are in every group.
mm.
Uzi Knesset says they do when confronted by an angry mob of rioters lol. Uzi Knesset says everyone capitulating haha.
I mean, the thing is when I look at my Facebook feed, so here's another thing that I find really interesting is that there has certainly been a degree of domination over social media by the left, and there have absolutely, especially on Reddit. On Reddit, it is insane right now. You go on there, everybody that's posting there thinks that we need to defund the police, and there's like normal people aren't there. So there's this really bizarre belief that they really truly believe that everybody thinks the way that they do on these issues. They do not realize. Well, like, and they're even lying about surveys. So like there was a survey yesterday that asked, do you believe that protesters are justified? And the headline, that was like the question almost verbatim, right? And the headline said that 53% of Americans believe that burning of police precinct was justified. Okay. Pretty sure that if you asked that question like that a very, very low percentage of Americans would actually agree with that. But that's what they're being told. So they think, they are pushing this idea that most people agree with attacking the police and burning things down and rioting and looting. Can you believe? And the reality is that almost nobody thinks that rioting is okay. Almost nobody thinks that what the police did in that instance was okay. There is like this massive silent majority. But the thing is that it's not a partisan issue. I think a lot of people want to sit down and say, yes, there's a silent majority and they're going to come out and they're going to vote for Donald Trump overwhelmingly. Well, Donald Trump thinks that the cops should have been prosecuted too. And it sounds like Donald Trump is even going to say, like, here are some changes that we should make. And he's going to start working on changes. So it's how it affects the election is like, I have no clue.
Jeff Matthews says I feel like it's the young generation.
It's definitely the young generation.
Gen Y? They've been brainwashed with this stuff. All the looting makes me think they don't have moral values either. Jeff Matthews says I'm generalizing, I know.
I don't see I don't see anybody over the age of 35 saying anything about it actually. You go to the protests. When you look at the protests in Salt Lake, it's almost entirely high school kids. That was a pretty good drop. If I wasn't ranting, I could have taken that, but I told myself I wasn't going to take a trade while she's talking. That's probably due to something that she said, but I didn't really understand the euro well enough to understand why they did that. It was at the top of the hour, so it was something she said about 20 minutes ago. I guess it was just over the 600 billion increase in PEP. I guess the market is just moving the way that it is because they're saying, the ECB is going to continue to be easy. It's going to continue to be easy. Anyways, so here's the issue that I have with the younger generation is that the society, we've created moral hazard everywhere. We've created moral hazard everywhere. It started in 2008 where we said, okay, well, we have to bail the banks out. I think that they made the right decision. I mean, society would not continue if they didn't do that. It would have been a real disaster. But they did not take the concerns about moral hazard seriously. We created a situation where now being saved from the consequences of your actions is expected. And so we see this in literally every element of society today. You are not responsible for protecting yourself and preventing yourself from catching a cold that might potentially kill you. No, it is the government's job to force everybody to stay in. Right? It's not your job to save up money and have a business that is, resilient against situations like that. It's not your fault that you spent all of your money on share buybacks. No, the government should come in and just give you money to save your company from going down and to save you from your previous poor decisions. It's not your fault that you can't pay your rent because the government is making you stay in, so that you just shouldn't have to pay rent. Oh, and the landlords shouldn't have to pay their mortgages. And the mortgages shouldn't have to be, well, how does that? We'll deal with that one when we get there. But then you're going to get there and then we're going to say, we have to give them money too. Moral hazard at every step. And what do they come in and we say in here? If people are rioting, it's not their fault. They're frustrated. Bullshit. Take responsibility for your actions. Take responsibility for your actions. Until you take responsibility for your actions, I can't help you. You think, man, this is the thing that really irks me, because I think that these people have a good point. I think that there are instances where police abuse their power and they do stuff that they're not supposed to do, and it is very difficult to hold them accountable. There is a good point here. And what happens is we all say, Joe Biden will save us. Are you kidding me? That man has been up there for 50 years and he hasn't done squat. You think that Joe Biden cares about you? You think that he cares about systemic racism and all this shit? No. All he cares about is getting elected and staying elected, guys. No. If you want something to change, you have to do it yourself. Take responsibility for yourself, for your community. Learn how to become an effective leader. Learn how to think. Learn how to write laws. Get people elected and pass the laws yourself. White people are not going to do this for you. They will not. They can't. They can't, because we are incapable of understanding it, and it is counter to our interests. My primary interest is safety. I am incapable of correctly balancing the need for safety against the needs of the safety of criminals. I'm too biased to do it. Cops should have input. Other people should have input. But there, I see a movement that's basically saying, "Oh, white people, please fix this thing for us." It's not. That's not the way to do it, guys. It's not the way to do it. You got to take responsibility. Bunch of comments. I'm gonna read them.
RJ Wheel says there's always been looters since there's been glass windows and hammers.
Yeah.
Jeff Matthews says yeah. Richard Hull says yep. I teach my kids, Jesus first, spouse second, kids third, then everyone else in country. Simple formula for success. RJ Wheel says he's part of the problem. Uzi Knesset says I gotta say though, I really did love that MSNBC reporter describing riots as largely peaceful, standing in front of a massive structure fire. I mean, that's peak 2020. Jeff Matthews says at Richard Hull great job. I wish all parents were like you.
There you go.
RJ Wheel says but even then Seth. They have black mayors, black police chiefs. And yet still.
No, you got a good point, RJ Will. This is another thing that's really annoying is that we say, oh, there's systemic racism in America. Who should we blame? Donald Trump. This is all Donald Trump's fault. Are you kidding me? He wasn't the one that made all of these laws. Guys, this is all local stuff. This has to do with the laws in your city, with the decisions of the police chief in your city, with the decisions of the mayor in your city. And who are the people that made these decisions that everybody is hating? Well, it's all the Democrat cities that are like really rioting. So who should you really be blaming? It's your Democrat mayor and your Democrat police chief. And they want to blame it on Donald Trump. It's hilarious. But there's clearly I mean, it's here the market's going to open up, so probably we should focus on something else. But it's pretty obvious that people are trying to turn this into a proxy to attack Donald Trump, even though he doesn't really have anything to do with it, right? That's the way politics go, is that it's always the president's fault. When it was Obama, there was plenty of things that people were upset about that they turned their ire on Obama. Okay, so she's still talking when the market's open. So the open is being tight. 3107's not a
Uzi
bad spot
Knesset
to
says our
open.
generation processes the world like children, bro. Their expectations are too high. When something bad happens, they crater into emotional train wrecks.
Well, they crater into emotional train wrecks because they haven't been taught anything about personal responsibility, right? I'm going to close this. If you do not understand or you do not believe in personal responsibility, and I think that they would say that they believe in personal responsibility, but they
Uzi
really
Knesset says yeah.
They don't understand it. If you don't believe in personal responsibility, then when something bad happens, the correct thing to do is to whine as loud as you can until somebody else does something about it. Whereas if you believe in personal responsibility, you go and you do something about it. And sorry, going out and protesting is
Uzi
not
Knesset
doing something
says
about
that's
it.
why riots are filled with college kids while the working man is too busy trying to keep it all together.
Yeah. Okay, so first impulse is up. So very tepid, but it's enough. Maybe we'll have an up day again. I may just, I don't know. Oh, why am I should only show today? There we go. Yeah, that's pretty good. No. This is a weird thing with Jigsaw where it doesn't show the total correctly until after a while. There we go. That's good. I'm happy with that. Any other market, that would be a good day. Probably today we can get a little bit more, but I'm not sure if they're going to go up or down. I mean, the trend overnight has been down. So there's going to be reason for them to want to move down, but there's also going to be a reason for them to want to go move back up. You know, like 31.17. And I'm not entirely sure which one they're going to do. I guess since the trend is up right now because of ECB easing, that seems to matter more than that the jobless claims were low. So I suppose we could buy it. If we're gonna buy it, we gotta buy a good price. So maybe down in the 05 area. Let's see if they do it. I guess the other thing is that if you have personal responsibility, then you also know that it's counterproductive to get emotional about something, right? Because that just prevents you from getting your head on and going out and doing the thing that has to be done. Well, I should say I do have some friends on my Facebook feed that have been proposing um, changes to things. Either they're like way more than just this. Like to me, it's like it's really obvious. This one specific instance, what you should do, but they're saying that like police should be given more training on de-escalation, and that there should be a citizen body that can reprimand the police or um, for certain actions like getting rid of a cop. But I'm not like a law enforcement expert, so you know, and I have no interest in becoming one either. Sorry. So then it's kind of like, yes, good job. Let's do something about this. You guys go and have fun. But then I'm told, if this isn't like if this cause isn't completely absorbing all of your emotional and mental energy, then you're a part of the problem. No, fuck you. I can prioritize the things that are important to me and that I have knowledge and expertise on. More importantly, I don't know anything about law enforcement. You don't need me to become a mindless zombie trying to help promote your cause. I don't know if your policy prescriptions are good or not. We can probably buy this range because at the moment they look unwilling to move down into the area where it would be like really nice for us. You notice that they get to the 08 and then they're up. Okay, so there is a little bit of up. Oh man, the
RJ Wheels says independent body set up to investigate police infractions is a priority. Prosecution offices, medical examiners, and police work too closely together.
That's probably true. But it's like the details of it, right? Because you don't want a body that forces police to be so overly cautious about everything that it harms enforcement, that it makes enforcement ineffective. Man, they're telling me to sell that still?
CH Trading says what trade are looking at, or what level S?
Well, that's a good question. I'm still not entirely sold on it. Maybe if I got 08. Not liking that spot's not the right spot. No, it hasn't been enough time yet. Not getting VIX data yet. Okay. So if we move up, we would be looking for maybe the area of 3118, but I don't have my VIX range targets yet. So I don't really have a good idea of where it's going to go for the whole day yet. Does seem like that we're kind of getting a little bit of a continuation of yesterday where they're just not able to move a whole lot. It's much slower than it has been. There we go. Oh man, really? Pretty rangy for an open, don't you think? The treasuries are definitely biased to the downside. You see when they tick down, it just like slumps. Okay. Hmm. So I'm seeing waves of buyers coming in the E-mini, but not necessarily making like amazing progress. Okay, and then the treasury ticked down a little bit more aggressively again. Oh, there you go. They're still not busting out the top side, unfortunately, in the E-mini. The treasuries are going for it, though. Oh, look at that. That was somebody bought up at 29.5. What? And then it ticks back down like it's nothing. That's funny. Hmm. Some serious. How much volume is going through here in the overall? 11,000 at 31.10. So that's curious to me. Well, that's a little more encouraging. Poll: Biden leads Trump by 4 points in North Carolina, says The Hill. Oh, man. This is from PPP. Similar poll in April showed them statistically tied. I do have to say, almost every poll that I've seen lately shows that the race is not looking good for Donald Trump. It really should not be that close in those places. Like Donald Trump, it kind of makes me disbelieve the
RJ
numbers.
Wheel says
but
threatening to pull the RNC convention from Charlotte isn't smart.
Well, did they really have a choice? If they're not allowed to hold it, it's kind of silly. Like, there's people protesting in the streets, but we're not allowed to have a convention. You're not allowed to go to church. That's the other one, is the California being so heavy-handed against churches gathering together. You can protest, but you can't go to church. That's fucked up, man. There's obvious bias there. And at that point, it becomes clear that the government really shouldn't have this power.
Jeff Matthews says I would think the riots in these Democrats' cities would swing things a lot towards Trump.
I don't know, because the thing is, if we say rioting in Democrat cities helps Donald Trump, do you think that those states are going to vote Donald Trump?
RJ Wheel says the amount of votes Weld got in primaries on Tuesday was an indicator there's unrest from within.
I'm not so sure that the political implications of this are so clear. I mean, the obvious call is always that it benefits Democrats. That's why everybody always complains about how it only happens during election years. Why would you care that it only happens during election years if you didn't believe that it helps Democrats get elected? Okay, 27 saw some volume. There's the new high. So if I was
RJ Wheel says
as
not those
lucky-
states, but it should swing purple ones towards law and order.
Well, so are we seeing? Maybe we're seeing some hints of that in Pennsylvania. Where was I seeing in Pennsylvania? Now let's go to Real Clear Politics. We need to go to Real Clear Politics. I saw something in Pennsylvania that said that it was helping Donald Trump. Pennsylvania. So we haven't had a survey in Pennsylvania in a while. The NBC Change Research Survey from the end of May, from the 29th to the 31st, had Trump +4. And the previous survey before that, which was a whole month before, from 4/21 to 4/26, was Biden +6. So there is some indication in Pennsylvania that Donald Trump is gaining and or increasing a lead. There's a new high there, and they're coming in. They're trying to push it down again, and we're getting an outside bar. I don't know if maybe I should be concerned about that, huh? And 27 is doing the big old absorption stuff. It's pulling. Are they going to absorb some more there? Wow, he flipped it on them.
John 2 John
easy
25
there.
says I don't know how anyone can listen to the polls after the 2016 election. They were all
Right.
wrong.
Well,
CH Trading says I can tell you one thing, black voter all around the country will think twice before voting for Trump.
maybe. The thing is what did he... I don't know. It's stupid to me that being against rioting means you're against black voters. That's what they've turned it into. Like trying to establish law and order means that you're against black equality. I think is just no. No. You know who the biggest victims of this are? Black people, black businesses, black homes. So that's who's, black communities. Those guys up in Wisconsin, they burned their Target. They're gonna have to drive like 20 miles to get food now. But that it's like this knee-jerk reaction thing, like instinctual reaction that people have that makes absolutely no logical sense to me. But it's tribal thinking, right? They're teasing me with it, but I don't know if I'm going to get the 26 or not.
RJ Wheel says, but stupidly they will vote for the writer of the crime bill, the good friend of Strom Thurmond.
Right. Joe Biden. Yeah. Well, you know what? The something that gives me a little bit of hope is that there are a lot of black people out there that are extremely, like Charlemagne, for instance, extremely skeptical of Joe Biden, and they should be. He was vice president for 8 years. They never did squat about these things. Ferguson happened in Obama's tenure. He didn't do anything. If you're frustrated that after Ferguson that nothing changed, blame the people that were in charge. That was Obama and Biden. And yes, Republicans too. But okay, so I got filled on my treasury trade. But I don't know if I'm super happy with that. It was like way too easy to get filled once they finally went for it, right? There's going to be some volume at 25.5, but now basically they're suggesting to me that they're going to come down into this area. Maybe even down into this area. Okay, now they're really going.
RJ Wheel says Hobsma took 3 days or more to even mention Ferguson during the event.
Obama.
RJ Wheel says Obama the first meant.
You certainly took advantage of it, though, when it happened. All right, we are done for the day. This is, you know what? I feel like that this market is too easy. It makes me nervous to trade it because I know that at some point it's going to flip on us and it's going to be incredibly confusing. But for now, it's just so obvious what's going to happen. Oh, central banks are putting money in. I can buy equities without any concerns about the risks, and I will win, and it will go up every time. It just feels wrong, you know? It's like I should have to work for it. I guess I did work for it. Like I took a little bit of heat. It took a while. I was a little bit nervous. But I knew what was going to happen, so it was like not the same thing. Wait. So where did I get out at? Oh, no. It wasn't 27. I got out at 26. I got out at 26, right? I have to take that off to see the treasury trade. It doesn't tell me. 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 26. So this is where I'm getting into that. It was like, okay, here's an area. Obviously, the balanced area was not there. It's much further down. Maybe this 23.5 is okay.
Jeff Matthews says, yeah, I heard one guy on YouTube say the S&P is going to quadruple in the next 10 years with this QE, and I'm like, I don't think so, haha.
Well, the question is that how much can you pump it in until it becomes a problem, right? So there was something that Mr. Brannigan from Axio was complaining about this narrative that it's the retail traders that are making money and the smart money is behind the curve. He's saying obviously, and I'm like, are you just saying that because you consider yourself smart money? Ooh, look at that! Look at that stop run. Yesterday's close 31.17, almost to the tick on that one. Oh, we should come in and see if we get our targets now. We do. Okay. So the first upside target is 31.32. And the downside target is 30.82. So I think there's probably quite a bit more in this. Although here is an area that you'll be careful about. Now, I also wonder, why did it take them so long this time to move it? Was it like they had to finish selling their bonds before they took it? That was it was a weird trade, in my opinion. It was just like incredibly tight and range bound. Maybe it was because Lagarde was still speaking, but the treasuries just got pummeled. $174.31.
Jeff Matthews says earnings matter in the long run and we'd eventually end up with a 200x PE on the S&P 500, lol.
Right? I'm with the so-called smart money in that I'm not going to go and buy something if the PE ratio is so out of whack. And you really have to wonder that if we really need so much policy support, I guess maybe part of what the bonds are doing is saying that it's getting so extreme that the Federal Reserve is going to have to do something. I think that's maybe what they're saying. Lindsey Graham's take is that Jim Mathis has been suckered by anti-Trump liberal media. Oh, so I haven't talked about this. We should talk about this now that I've got my money for the day. Jim Mathis was Donald Trump's secretary chief of staff. And now he's saying that Donald Trump is like unfit to lead and speaking poorly about him and everything. I think the reality of it is that Donald Trump put in a lot of people in charge that were really kind of anti-Trumpers and don't like his style of doing things, which is quite chaotic. And if you are a high conscientiousness individual, like most of those types like Mathis are, you're going to really hate it. But for him to come out afterwards really shows his true colors, shows that Donald Trump was right to get rid of him.
Treasury_trader says it's a pretty nice range break on the daily treasuries, but we are not smacking low.
What do you think? I mean, they come back up there and they're sticking that big old order at 24. So maybe they found some degree of balance. I'm really surprised. Not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I'm just disappointed that I didn't call the spot very well. Like there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more in that. Normally when I get 8 ticks and then I try and let it ride, it comes back on me. And when it comes back so hard. Well, the treasuries are really washing back up, but even though the E-mini isn't really going, they still got about a good 10 points for them to move up based on volatility.
Treasury_trader says 085 level in the end looking like a reverse to the level at the moment. RJ Wheels says Trump isn't a Beltway guy. There's never been such an outsider to be plus president.
If they came all the way back up to 8.5, then I would be like, yeah, giddy up. Short that bitch. But no, that's probably not going to happen. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice, says Forbes. I'm not sure I agree with that, but okay. I'd have to think that one through. You know what? We should do a Ferengi rules of acquisition. That's what we should do. What do we got today? Rules of acquisition number 97. Enough is never enough. I think it's saying that we should take another trade. I think that's what it's saying. We should short it right here. No, I don't know about that one. I'm seeing seeing a 4,500 just slapped right down there at 24 is like, okay. Somebody said we had too much fun. Oh, this is a good, okay amount of volume here at 31.17. I think that they may just be building up a base to be able to move up higher. I think there's enough volume there that I think that probably there was some profit taking, but yeah, there you go. Because it was you're building a base above the previous day's open. Why wouldn't they go for it? There it is. But now the question is, can they get over the overnight high? OV high at 31.26. My numbers say probably they will.
Treasury_trader says never mind what I said. That was bollocks.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like if they came all the way back to 08.5, you talking like up there? Like what? No way. I'm kind of wondering though, like, so what do you think? Do you think that the treasuries are just that we've seen the highs and that the treasuries are just going to continue to move down from here on out? Here's the chart going back as far as I can see on here. Maybe we should do it with the daily. Is that it? We're going to do this. You think that's what's gonna happen?
Treasury_trader says I got confused with 285.
Because I kind of thought that it was gonna be like, well, now we're down here. Well, let's
Sunday
say
Driver
what I
says is
thought
there
it
a
was
chance
gonna
a
be.
coalition of enemies will combine efforts to wreck the US dollar prior to the November elections?
I thought it was gonna be like that. I guess that one doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but let's try and do a rosy scenario for treasuries or a bearish. What the hell? Oh, I have two of them open. Now that we got this, I think that you'll get like this. That would be the bear bullish scenario, right?
Treasury_trader says the first one doesn't make much sense. The second one is better.
The one where we just come back off. Here, let's give them numbers. This is scenario 1.
Treasury_trader says or even third.
2. 3 is going to be range bound until November, right? Which one? Or do you have a 4? Anthony Crudelli, it looks like the freight train hiring ES may stall for a bit and we could see 2A action today. I talked about what I'm looking at in my Instagram story. Looks real 2A so far, Anthony.
Treasury_trader says 2 or 3, but not 1. That would be very, very strange.
Because what I'm seeing in the Treasury today, like what we're seeing in the Treasury today seems to suggest 1, don't you think? Because if you think that it's 2 or 3, then why sell it so hard right now, right? It's just going to come back up. Republicans growing queasy at ending unemployment benefit bonuses. Ugh. I really think they should do it. I really think that the unemployment benefits need to be modified. I really do. I guess I just think that because that's like there's economic
Treasury_trader says, well, let's see if they are taking back 085. Then it could develop to a fake and go higher from there.
Nah, I think that they're just going to find some balance in here and probably rest for the day. That's what they tend to do. Now, like, they're coming up here. This guy at 24, he probably really actually wants it, so... Like, I think he can do something like, okay, well, I didn't get it. It's going to come back up here. Then I can sell a bunch here and then put it down. And that's what allows me to put 47 up. You know? Could be wrong. I'm just guessing. Now that I've made 3 good trades and I hit my targets for the day, I can hypothecate like that, right? He went short at 31. Rourke's live tweeting that 10-year yields are breaking out. Yeah, they're looking like they want to go up and do it again. I think that this is where you get these weird distribution areas. So like, if I got maybe 31.15 or even 13, you know, and it could bounce from there.
Treasury_trader says either we fake here or we hit the range target.
In the E-mini or the Treasury? Well, in the E-mini, you know that they haven't been reaching that range target until the end of the day lately. Like you're probably gonna see a distribution in here. So they're gonna do that thing where you think that it's turning around. That's why I'm saying like 31.13 to 31.15. It'll do it. They'll give you a good spot to get in here once, and then they'll kind of screw around for a while, and then they'll come down and make you think that it's not going to happen, and then it's going to go. That's the way they've been doing it lately, at least. It always changes, but that's kind of been the play lately. Right? You get something like, here we're coming back, and then they're like, do.
RJ Wheel says I've got 12.5 on E-mini as focal point.
We're distributing. Oh, no, just kidding. We're down. Oh, whoops. No, we're going up. Right?
Treasury_trader says check my link.
Yeah, you have to put
Treasury_trader says link.
only moderators links show up in the YouTube chat. If you want to post a link, you should put it in Discord. It was the way this move happened was interesting because they really puked on their treasuries before the E-mini moved up. And I mean, they like really puked.
Treasury_trader says range target in ZN around 137,000 is what my bet is.
Wow, really? Today? I'd have to. I need a different chart.
Treasury_trader says not today.
Oh, okay. In the longer run, I can see it. Yeah. No, they're not even going to give you the 15. Apparently, there's a new high. Oh, not quite. One more tick. Could I just sell 25 half? Let's see. That's how they be in. They might dink around with it a bit. Police in North Carolina destroy medical station near protest? What the hell? And yes, somebody else, Mike Larson, noting what we said earlier, that's a pretty vicious out of bonds into stonks mechanical trade to get the day started. Yeah. So I think that means that the puke is still ongoing, huh? But we still got non-farms, but maybe non-farms not so bad tomorrow, What do you think? Mr. Thomas Sowell is tweeting. What does he say politically? There are very few ideas more potent than the notion that all your problems are caused by other people and their unfairness to you. The notion was the royal road to unbridled power for Hitler, Lenin, Mao, and Pol Pot, which is to say, millions of human beings paid with their lives for believing it. I freaking love Thomas Sowell, man. He is a smart cookie. What's the best way to show tweets like this? What if I click on this one? Yeah. Oh, look, there they go. What another measured move higher, right? So are they going to go? Well, let's do it. Let's measure it. $26. Mayhaps. I hate how it doesn't put all the layers and stuff in here. Okay. So they did not do the measured move to 26. They turned back around pretty quickly, and they look like they're going to come back and wash through 31.15. Well, it serves me right for trying to use some technical analysis to determine a target, huh? I still think that they get up to our daily targets based on the VIX, right? But man, am I missing something here? Why isn't this finishing? Ooh. Sorry about that. I'm having some issues here because I decided to do this update for paint.net and it's not. It should be done by now, right? So I don't know what's with that. That's why probably the stream is a little screwed up. Let's kill it because there it is. Die. Oh wait, did I kill it right as it was about to do something? Well, it's doing better now. Let me try opening it up again and see what it does. It just opens. Okay, whatever. Whatever. Hmm. There's a little bit of clickiness there. So they did come back and take that 24. Wasn't paying attention to see if they, traded volume there and went through them and all and filled them. But they seem to be pretty happy with that spot. We'll see. And the E-mini, they came back, but they didn't really push like low. One could try buying it again here. Ooh, we'll see. We'll let it play out. Check
Treasury
Bitcoin.
_trader says check Bitcoin. I still believe it was a strong sign that we traded sideways after the flush. We are now picking up some strength.
The thing is when you get a bar like that, it might have just been somebody bought it and then decided they weren't going to go, or they made their money. But it might also be somebody trying to create a short-term top. And just because you go sideways, it doesn't mean anything. Right? Like, you got to remember, this guy has complete control over it, right? He can make it look like whatever he wants. So if he wants to sell it, if he really wants it to go down and he has a short position now at this point, he can make it do whatever he needs to get you guys all along and before he dumps it again, right? So, like in a situation like that, how can you really win? Right? Because like the whole theory behind technical analysis is you're following the big traders and you're what is the word? You're catching psychological inefficiencies in the market that happen over and over and over again, right? But here, you're not doing any of that. You're just trading based off of what one guy or what one small group of guys wants you to see. They know what the patterns are. The little jump there from 96 to 98 is not bad, I guess, but like in the larger scheme of things, it's pretty irrelevant. Especially look, the futures don't care. Wasn't any real volume on the futures through it. Now they're going to go up again. Kind of thought maybe they could make it to that 16, but I guess not.
Treasury _trader says, but we are at significant level. That's why the play is so important.
If you think that we're going to go up from 10K to something like 20K or something like that, gonna have to. I think you're going to be disappointed. The most they can get right now is like 12. You get up to 12, and then it's going to be like crash imminent
Treasury
stuff again.
_trader says, yeah, 10K is the wall. Roby Mani says euro is breaking 1.13.
I also wonder if this was two people. some guy got in, and then the other guy said, okay, I got my 10K, and he sold it. Look at her go. When it goes, it goes. It's kind of funny to watch because it's such a simple pattern, right? It's just doing this. This is not so hard to see.
Treasury_trader says shorts are getting squeezed in euro. Dang, it's strong.
Yeah, it is. Look, the euro's going nuts. Euro's going nutso. Here's the thing that I don't understand is when the United States eases, it hurts our currency, but when the euro eases, it helps our currency. What's with that bullshit? It's not fair.
Treasury_trader says I guess the reasons are the weaker country which are going to profit. And overall it is a good sign for the Eurozone.
Yeah. But the problem is, it's like everybody here in the United States complains about the Federal Reserve. Why do they never complain about the ECB? Because the ECB is being way more easy. Like, it's just mind-boggling to me that we need an injection of cash here at 3,100. That's like a really big red flag. Obviously, these policies don't work as great as they claim if they have to continue to put money into it. I guess in the short term, yeah, the market is going to go up, but in the long term, over a 10-year time span, it's not a positive thing.
Treasury_trader says it's also a sign that they want to keep the Eurozone intact and are moving towards closer fiscal union. That's at least how I see it.
Oh, sure. That, like, you've got to pump it up to keep the Eurozone from splintering. So you have to be way more aggressive with it than would really seem appropriate. That just seems so dangerous to me. How do you unwind this stuff? You can't. If you just you get it up and then we just go sideways for 10 years, well, that's not going to work. I'm sorry. That's going to blow all sorts of stuff up.
Treasury_trader says, dude, everything is completely bizarre at the moment. Lol.
Like think about the issue that we have with pension funds right now, right? Right now, people aren't making money from pension funds. They can't. They're not going to be able to pay out their beneficiaries because the interest rates aren't high enough. So now people have to save more. If you then create an environment where stocks are incredibly overbought, so that the stocks basically are inflated up, and then you just slowly deflate it as the economy comes back up, then what's going to happen is your stocks are just going to go sideways, and then you're going to have a situation where in stocks over a 10-year period, you're getting an increase of 0. Now everybody's retirement is screwed. Now everybody has to save more. That means that consumption decreases even more. That's incredibly deflationary. What they're doing is incredibly deflationary. It's so funny because everybody thinks that, the Federal Reserve is injecting all this money into the economy and it's going to cause inflation. But it is the exact opposite is what's going to happen and destroy things. Oh man, it's so weird. At least that's my understanding of it. That's my opinion of it right now. I think this is something that we're only just now starting to understand. And I'm really hope that we don't have to understand it better. You know what I mean? Because the long-term prospect in a scenario like that is not good. I was looking at one of the things was that yesterday I saw this article that the Treasury ended up not buying as much stuff this week.
Treasury_trader says, well, you can see that already, but it can flip at a certain point. At the moment, deflation, yeah.
They were saying that the Treasury was supposed to buy like 75 billion in Treasury bonds one of these days, and yesterday they only did like 40,000. It was like a 30% drop in their purchases or something. And I was like, well, maybe that's why the treasuries are moving down. and like if that's what causes the market to move that far, that's scary. That's super scary. Imagine how far the market would have to go if the Federal Reserve just stopped. If they just let the market alone, how far we would have to drop. That would be a huge shock to the market. And that shows you how big the impact of stimulus actually is.
Treasury_trader says I need to go. Cheers.
All right, I'll get you later. I know I'm being quiet. I'm like been typing something. Been thinking about something else here. Plus, I'm kind of like done. Like I don't know. Like the thing is I find the movement of the E-mini after this point to kind of be really slow. Like the good move happened, and you're either still in it and just waiting for it to go up, at which case you don't really care where it's going around here, or you're one of the not as good traders, and so you just get jostled around. So I'm finding these days it's a little harder to be interested in this action. Hmm. Well, need to open this one. I haven't seen any like major distributions today either. I would take that back, actually. There was a pretty good one on that first hour. There was 20K there at that 3118 level. 20K. That's actually is quite a bit. So they built a really good distribution, and then they decided to move it up further, and all those guys that were on the wrong side of that distribution got stomped out. I need to stop thinking about it. I need to be focused. Please let this serve as my complete and total endorsement of your great fighter and ally in North Carolina, Linda Bennett, NC. She's strong on crime borders. Military are great vets, and Second Amendment. She will be a great help to me in D.C. Early voting starts today. We need Linda Bennett. That's in North Carolina. Banks a relative long play. I should check banks out here. Let's look at some banks, huh? Still not showing me VIX, huh? Now you show me. Oh wow, they came down. They came down big time. And they came down big time in volatility. Okay, well we need to look at a longer term chart, and let's add Goldman. I like to look at Goldman because I understand them better compared to the rest of the market. So they're back to 200. They did make a lower low. It was kind of this area up in here. Where was it? Yeah, it was like 2020. They were having a hard time getting through, and now they're hitting it in resistance again. I don't know about this one, folks. I keep seeing people talk favorably about the banks. Well, I bet you that if we did like Morgan Stanley, might be a little different. No, actually, they're kind of the same. I'm not entirely sure if I'm completely sold on no, the banks are breaking out and it's a good buy right now and everything. Can only hope, but they're kind of in a spot where I think you're going to see some resistance. You're going to see some strong resistance. Okay. 25. Oh, they haven't made the new high yet for a good 30 minutes now, have they? It's just kind of shopping around. Actually, probably a lot of people bruised up on that one. Hmm. Well, the treasuries were kind of, I guess they did move a little bit lower there, but they look pretty happy to me. I should be careful with that. I should be careful saying that because they have a real tendency. By the way, you guys are probably saying a ton of shit, huh? Yeah. Oh, maybe not. Yeah. You know what? Sometimes they'll like look like they're dead and happy, and then they'll just drop another clip, and it's like it just happens, and you have no clue. You know, just goes right. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that there's maybe something else I could go into, but we had a good discussion today, and kind of feel done. So I think I'm just gonna. It's the top of the hour. I think now's a good time, good place to stop. Don't have anything interesting to entertain you with anymore. But thank you guys. Another good day. We've been doing really good lately. I'm gonna come back all the way. This week. Just this week has been great. Really, really good trading this week. Like the losses that we did take were all not too bad. There was this stuff in the treasury that wasn't so good. That one I don't necessarily happy about, but like what 5 in this, and then when I am getting winners, they're pretty good, much bigger. So a really high win rate and a good risk reward ratio. So we'll see about tomorrow though. Tomorrow is the kind of day that'll just blow it all away. So I'll see you guys then. In the meantime, stay profitable.